Hey everybody, it's LaDonna Marie, internationally multi-award winning author, speaker, and personal development life coach of LaDonna Marie Books, where my mission is to discover the champion in you through healing and changing the narrative in your life, one book at a time. You can shop and find out more information at www.ladonnamarie.org and check out the shop page. Welcome to Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie. I'm so excited about, tonight's interview. As always, Inspirational Talks plants positive seeds in the lives of others. And so the guests that I bring, they're here to share with you their lives and share with you some things that they've overcame and how they have made it through. But before we get the show started, I always want to show my appreciation for all of those who are out there that is listening to Inspirational Talks. I see the numbers. I see that you all are listening. So I want to give a shout out to the other countries, to Ghana, to Canada, to the Netherlands, to Singapore, Pakistan, the U.S. minor outlying islands. That's a tongue twister, but I'm giving you a shout out. To the Bahamas, to Turkey, Colombia, Brazil. And so I thank you all. And United States, you're always in there for everyone who listens. But every week, I want to make sure that on Mondays, because you plug in at 6:30 Central and 7:30 Eastern, that I wanted to give you a shout out, because without you all, Inspirational Talks would not be where it is today. And so I just want to say again, thank you to every listener. Thank you for every share. And thank you for being a part of our listening audience. So on tonight, everyone, we have a treat for you. And I'm going to introduce my guest. Her name is LaShena's McElroy. And in her bio, in 2014, she received a stage 3 breast cancer diagnosis that began a series of life-changing events. As she states, you don't go through the process of fighting for your life and remain the same. As she emerged from cancer as an overcomer and now a thriver, she has chose to live life on purpose, using all of her gifts and talents as given to her with a life poured out. LaShena's mission for the community has always been hot, honest, open, and transparent. Breaking out of the four walls of religion and Christianity, she believes the church should be more active and engaging in the community where they serve. She's been a trailblazer in outreach efforts in her community with mental health, food, marketplace, ministry, clothes drives, toiletries, and voter rights. I can tell you already, I love her. She has so many different things that Planting Positive Seeds has along. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in LaShena's McElroy. How are you doing tonight?
Hello, Lady LaDonna Marie. How are you? I am super duper. I am fabulous. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate you. And I am just super excited to be here with you this evening.
I am so excited as well because, just reading your bio and your, the first word that you said was that you're an overcomer. And I share this with, many guests on the show. I said, because you never know who's listening, but I was an overcomer of attempted suicide at the age of 14. And so I identify with the word overcomer because, I survived and God allowed me to live so that I could go back and help others. And I want to tell you that that is one of the reasons why Planting Positive Seeds exists, because he wants me to plant these seeds in the lives of others as he plant them within me, to let me know that I mattered, to let me know that there was, this was not the end all be all. So I thank you for out the gate, coming in, sharing a part of your story so that the listeners could be tapped in, because we are overcomers. And that's one of the things that I want to share with the listeners. I always talk about how do we overcome obstacles. And so coming on tonight as a guest, sharing your story and letting them know how you're living your life poured out is amazing. And so, LaShena, I want you to share with our listening audience, if there's anything that I missed, a little bit more about yourself and your ministry.
So sure. Again, thank you for that beautiful, wonderful introduction. I've never been introduced in such a magnificent, fabulous way. So thank you, Lady LaShena. I love it. Thank you so much. As far as my story, it was definitely bittersweet for me, because not only was I dealing with something that I had no control over, my employer as well ended up terminating me while I was out on FMLA. Talk about a double whammy, right? As you were already struggling, already trying to fight to live. And then I got to a place where I was at least well enough to work a little bit to try to keep my strength up. And my doctor said, yes, you can go back, part-time a little bit. And long story short, I went in thinking that I was getting ready to restart my position, and they served me papers saying that I exhausted my FMLA, which was completely inaccurate. So talk about another blow to your self-esteem, another blow to your spirit, another blow to you financially, because when you're out on FMLA, you're depending on the kindness and the goodness of other organizations that assist your church family. If you are a part of a church family, which I am, I had an amazing, amazing support system in place, but still, I'm still a mother, and it put me in a really, really bad place financially, trying to figure out how I'm gonna, stay afloat. And so it was just so traumatizing, but God, but he still made a way. He took care of everything. And I fought even harder to get back to life. Because for me, it was definitely being that example for my babies, for my children. I fought for my babies first. It wasn't even for me. I fought to get back to being a mother, because if I'm gone, if I don't fight, my babies are without. And I didn't want that for them. So I did everything that the doctors asked and then some. I pushed even when I didn't feel like it. Even those days where I was just completely exhausted and tied to the bed, I at least made sure I got up and tried to walk a little bit, and did whatever I could to just push through. Yeah, so that's a little part of my story that most people don't know, because I don't go into depth about what actually happened during that time period as well. And that was one of those things that happened on top of the cancer diagnosis.
Wow. Talk about, really having to overcome, coming out of it, but then actually living in it, and then the help that you needed and that you thought you had. And then, like you said, I love the way, because I think that's what with most mothers and with all mothers, because we think about our children, we're servants, we love our children, even though God gave them to us. But I thought about my children as well when, they weren't born when I was, when I had attempted to commit suicide, but when I got older and I had a moment in my life, and I remember in 2015, I had lost my job due to some things that were going on at the place. But when I made it home that day and my back was against the wall, I said, Lord, I have my children, and what will I do? And I need your help to help me to help them so that they could know how to continue to push. And so I thank you for sharing, that story with the listeners, because, LaShena, I always tell people, I never know who's going to listen to inspirational talks, because the talks are always inspirational. We get stories, like I said, sometimes that's never been told, because there's someone that's out there that's listening on the other side of their phone, their iPad, their computer, and they're in that moment, and they're at a standstill. And so when you all come on and share your story of what happened, and then how you made it over, or what techniques that you used, and what mindset that you used, and who was your focus point, your children, it helps them to understand that they're not alone. Yeah. Because many people think that they're alone. And so I thank you so much for sharing that. I also want to say that LaShena is being modest, everyone. And I want to tell you that she's also Pastor LaShena. She's a mompreneur. Purpose push her. She's a destiny help her. Intercessor, spiritual midwife, event designer, certified wedding planner, owner of Design by Diamonds. And so we just want to allow the listening audience to know how you said earlier, you living your life poured out. Yes. And with everything that God put within you, you are committing to give that to the world. Mm-hmm. And so we thank you for being who you are and the gift to the world. I wanted to ask you also, what inspires you to do what you do? I love the way in your bio when you talked about the community and giving back, and I just love that. But what inspires you to actually do what you do?
So it actually began before I could even remember. My mother definitely knew that I was just going to be this little precious little thing. And so she had an inkling of who I would be when she named me. Okay. And she gave me the middle name Diamonds. So my name is LaShena Diamonds McElroy. And she started this, I guess she just knew. Mothers know, right? Mothers just know. They know their babies. And I grew up as one of those little girls that loved everything beautiful, everything glamorous. My grandmother, my aunt fashioned me, my mother. I was always in their heels, in their perfume, in their purses, in their earrings. Yes. Oh my goodness. I was that little girl that wanted to wear lace and tutus and your Sunday's best to school every day. I've always been a little dainty little something.
I love vintage.
Yeah. So I was the little girl in school who was like, no, I don't want to do that. Thank you. I'm gonna sit right here and be pretty. That was who I was. And at the time, I didn't realize that even that was part of who God was making me to be for later on, for things that he had for me. But it wasn't always that way, but it definitely started out that way. Somewhere through there, I definitely got a little lost when I lost my self-esteem, dealing with relationships, and then also dealing with cancer. You take that huge blow to your self-confidence. And so when I emerged on the other side as an overcomer, and then now a thriver, and to be able to help other people is what truly, truly inspired me. My very, very first client, actually, she told me that I was going to do her wedding. And at the time, I didn't even have a business. I was celebrating my 40th birthday. And because it was so beautiful and so elegant, everyone thought that I was getting married, like it was a surprise wedding, because it looked like a wedding. And I'm like, I promise you there's no man hiding anywhere. I'm not getting married. And they just could not believe it because it was so opulent. It was so beautiful and so gorgeous. The colors were silver and white. That's it, just silver and white.
Mhm.
But it was so over the top and so glorious that they were like, okay. So she was one of my guests, and she was like, "You're planning my wedding." And that's just how she said it to me. And I said,
Wow.
"Excuse me?" She said, "Yeah, so look at your calendar. In the next 2 weeks, we'll be sitting down so you can plan my wedding."
Awesome.
And my business literally began from there. So shout out to Miss AJ. I love you. I love you. I love you. She definitely believed in me before I even saw it in myself.
Wow, that is so amazing. Like just by you stepping in your love for having things glamorous and
Mhm.
looking amazing, someone else stepped into it and saw it and immediately like knew that
Yes.
it was what you were born to do.
And that's exactly what she said, honey. She was like, "Yeah, we need to sit down because this is what you do, and I want mine like this. What is your price? Name your price." And I promise you, it went from there.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that is so amazing, but that's just how it is, those things that we love to do and that we were born to do, we could actually do them and not get paid for them, but because we love them. But it's good when you can create that for
Yes.
others and, building from your childhood, so to now. Oh my goodness. It's just, I'm up here smiling because I could just, feel like, just look like, wow, I can see this.
Mhm.
It was amazing the way that you described it. And she just was like on point. So I'm excited for you, and I'm happy that your business started out of that, and congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank
You're so
you.
welcome. I also wanted to ask you because we love talking about highlights and some achievements and different things that you've accomplished, over the years. And so I want you to share with our listening audience some of the things that you've accomplished over the years.
Sure, absolutely. So I definitely have accomplished going back to school as an adult learner, right? A non-traditional student. Because I was a teenage mother, my children definitely came first. And so the first thing that I did when my children got a little bit older and they didn't need me as much, I knew that I wanted to go back to school. And so I did that. So the first thing that I did was looked into some business management programs and degrees. And I went back to school to pursue my educational journey that I didn't get an opportunity to do when I was younger because I was a teenage mom. And so I remember being at the table with my babies and we're all sitting there doing homework together. It's like, okay, let me help you really quick. Let me help you. And then let me get back to my homework. We all sit at the table getting this homework done. Was it a little bit stressful? Yes, absolutely. But it definitely was worth it in the end. So going back to school for business management and business administration and also human resources, and then branching off into event planning and being certified in that, I definitely also have always had a love for people. And so I'm a PK. And for those that don't know, most of you may, but for those that don't know what a PK is a pastor's or a preacher's kid. And so we typically get a bad rap in the universe because they just think that the preacher's kids get away with everything. And it's actually the reverse. We can't really get away with anything because of who we are. And so I've always been really, really close to God's hand anyway because of my parents. And so when it came time for God to share with me what he needed of me and of my heart and to be able to serve in a different capacity, because I've always been a helper. I'm okay with being in the background. I don't need to be in the front. You don't even need to put my name on no program. I am okay with just being a blessing to others because that is the heart that God has given me. So when it came time for me to be elevated spiritually, I fought the call because I was like, no, I'm okay. Let me just serve. And that's when they come to you and they really know that they're making the right decision because that's what you shared. And when your heart is postured in the right space, and you're saying, no, I don't need a title, let me just serve, that is what they're looking for. And that is the purpose, the part of the purpose of the elevation as well, because your heart posture is right towards God. And so being ordained in 2016 is when I became a pastor, but the church has been in existence since 1995. So that's how long I've been serving. I started out just in the choir, and then singing, and then praying, being an intercessor, and whatever my hands find to do. I did the dance ministry for many, many years. So I got a lot of little mini me's running around the city of Milwaukee that were groomed by me as a dancer, praise dancing as well. So yeah, that's actually one of the other things that I've never even put on here. Wow. As the Holy Spirit is recalling things. Wow. But yeah, definitely did that too. So whatever my hands find it to do, as the Bible says, you do that. And that's exactly what I did. A lot of people don't give themselves enough credit for stepping into those vacant positions in church to fill them. Let's just get it done, right? And that was always me. If it's a vacancy, I'm gonna hop in it. If I don't know how, I'm gonna figure it out, and God gonna bless the rest, and we gonna go forth until someone comes in next. Yeah. So that is definitely how that came about. And then also moving into mental health, which is huge, and being able to bridge that gap in the Christian community, because it's still a stigma that, if you have any mental issues, or if you're battling with that, that means that you don't believe God, or, you don't live a saved life submitted to God because you feel like you need a therapist. Well, I'm here to tell you there's nothing wrong with that, because the Bible speaks of, in the Bible, he says that first natural and then spiritual. Well, if we can't tend to all of the natural needs, how can we skip over that and get to the spiritual part? And if I'm hurting, or if I'm dealing with some trauma, or if I have anxiety and I'm dealing with fear and it's so overwhelming, yes, I can go pray. But what happens in those moments where I'm too overwhelmed that I can't pray and I need to talk to somebody? I'm here to tell you today, there is nothing wrong with talking to someone, getting a therapist, and being able to work through and talk through those things. And that is exactly how I became a mental health advocate, and also wanting to make sure that we can bridge that gap in the Christian community, to let people know it's okay. It doesn't mean that you don't love God, that you don't believe in his power, that you don't know how to pray and just pray it away kind of thing. No, there are such things as chemical imbalances in your mind, in your brain, in your body, that definitely speak to having mental illness. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. Absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. And so that is how that came about as well. And so that is just a little bit of my life. And I help pastor and co-pastor with my parents alongside them, Joseph and Galinda Lovett of For Him International Ministries here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So that's a little bit of some highlights and some
awesome. Listen, it's awesome and amazing. I thank you for sharing the highlights of everything that God has done, for you and through you in your life. I understand, even like what you said, when you were didn't really want to step up for the call, because you were like, I can serve. I can truly tell you that I felt like that, and even when the call was on my life, I was telling God, I'm comfortable just being here, doing whatever you asked me to do. I won't stop doing it. And so I understand, how you felt, but I'm so glad that you stepped in and that the elevation was necessary. Because if it was anything the way that the Lord showed me, it was at some places that he wanted me to go. Without that elevation of where he was ascending me to, we would not be able to go. but it's always good to feel in, like you say, be in there and be in the choir, and be an usher. Even growing up, and when I was young, I was an usher. I was in the youth choir.
Yes.
I helped out. I helped, in growing up, I taught in the vocational Bible school. Now I've seen in the praise team at the church that I'm, help pastoring at. And so I just believe, saying that we are the body, we make it up, we're the arms and legs. And so whatever needs to be done, we just get in and do it. But I want to thank you for sharing. And mental health, oh my goodness. That's why I knew that I was going to enjoy this conversation, because I always tell people my degrees were in social work and counseling. And being that, I was never diagnosed with depression or anything, because even back then, my mother, they didn't believe in, going to therapists and things like that. But the Lord, I had an encounter with him, and it was basically him showing me and telling me my worth. But I understand the necessity to be able to speak to someone, to still have faith and still believe. And that's the reason why I became a health professional. I worked as a therapist for almost 5.5 years when I lived in Georgia, because I understand that you still need that practical time, and that the time to talk, and to time to pray, and to just let it out. And then put in apply those new skills that you've learned, because you have to put something in your toolbox in order when that situation happens again, so you'll have something. And so that was very good information that you shared, because like you said, there still is a stigma. There's a stigma because no one wants to identify. But I would say identify so that you can get the help that you need.
Yes.
Open up your mouth and let someone know, so that we can help you. Because even though I don't practice as a therapist anymore, it's nothing for me to still do a mental status report in my mind. Because if I see someone and they're, kind of shying away, and they're by themselves, and they're isolating, and, they're not talking or stuff like that, I mean, I may not, go all into different diagnoses and stuff, but I will start to have a conversation, because I know that there's something, these are identifying behaviors. Yes. And so I really love, and even at my job that we would do little programs about, mental health awareness and mindfulness activities, and, counting to 10, taking a walk, and giving them tools. And so it's very important to replace the things that you're usually doing with something that can help you to get to the next level. And so I thank you for sharing that, because we do have to do that for our community, for our churches, for our schools. And even when I mentioned it in your bio early with your outreach efforts, where you were talking about mental health and food and marketplace and ministry and clothes drives and toiletries and voters' rights, Planting Positive Seeds has its hand in that, because my nonprofit helps women and girls who are overcoming obstacles, and we do community, local, and global outreach, helping them with toiletries, helping them get the things that they need. Mental health. I do suicide prevention and awareness. We help them to understand you're not by yourself. So giving them that awareness. And so all of the things that you talked about, I'm thanking you for your part that you're playing in your community, and helping, because someone has to step up. Most of the time when I tell people, when Jesus said, if you've done it to the least of them, you've done it unto me. Yes. And so I don't count it robbery to give and to do, and to make a difference. One of the things that we just done, we have 6 initiatives in Planting Positive Seeds, but one of them is a scholarship fund. And I'm so excited. It's for high school girls graduating from high school, going into college.
I love it.
And thank you so much. I lost a friend in 2004 when I was a senior in college, and she was a junior. And we were in an accident. We got hit by a drunk driver. And I lived and she did not. And from that day on, I told the Lord, I said, I want to make a difference, and I want to bring honor to her name, because she would have graduated college. She would have gone out into the world to be successful and amazing. And so the scholarship is in her honor. And so for those high school girls who are graduating and going into college, we're going to bless them with some money to just let them know that someone cares and that you're doing a great job. And so I'm going to do it in her honor. But that's what it means to reach back. And so I love everything that you're doing. Continue to keep it up, LaShena. I'm so proud and excited. I know that you are impacting lives right there where you are. So I wanna go to asking you about a time in your life you had to overcome an obstacle. And like I said, I always share that on here because I love to tell people, to let people know they're not by themselves. Mm-hmm. And I know some of our stories are, hard stories, but we've overcame. And so if you have a story that you haven't shared, if you want to let them know something that you've overcame, please share that with the listening audience.
Absolutely. So they've already heard about the cancer one, so I won't go into that again. But just know that was one of the most difficult moments in my life. Staring at death's door and not knowing if you're going to wake up the next day. So,
yes.
Yes. But there have been many obstacles that I have overcome. One that I will share is overcoming the shame and the stigma of being a teenage mother. Okay. That was something that was really, really hurtful for me, because at the time, I was looking for love in all of the wrong places. And I can go on record to say this because my parents and I have had this conversation already. So I feel comfortable enough to share what I was doing, because we were so religious at the time. We couldn't really do anything except go to church. Everything was a sin back then. You couldn't go to prom, you couldn't go to the movies, you could, you name it, you couldn't do anything. And so, that didn't leave a girl many options to be curious about. And so took matters into my own hands and became very, very promiscuous at an earlier age in life. And here comes the baby, boom. Right. And so realizing that now I'm pregnant. What do I do? I'm 14, I'm 15. How do we navigate through this? And I just remember being so shameful and feeling like I let my family down. I let myself down. And like, what am I going to do now? And just having the wherewithal and the family and the support in place to help me work through that, because that was a very, very tough time for me, learning how to navigate the changes in my body and then trying to work and then still trying to complete my school studies because I was only a freshman in high school at that time. So I ended up going to Lady Pitts, which was a school designated for teenage mothers, where, they catered to you a little bit more in that setting versus being integrated with the regular schools that the regular high schools that really wouldn't make sure that you were okay and look after you. Yes. So remembering having to go to an alternative school for that duration. And then really, just being able to be healthy enough. So, learning and going through all of those changes. And my mother was very, very upset with me as well. So that didn't help, me already feeling low self-esteem about what I had done. And she eventually came around, but it took her a little time too, because she was very disappointed in her daughter. So just being able to navigate through that process as well, and just allowing the love of God to just kind of wash over everyone, the family included, because it definitely takes a village to raise children. And oh my goodness, yes, because if I'm at school, well, someone has to get him from daycare, or if I'm at work, and going on my parents' insurance at the time. And then now the baby has to go on their insurance. So incurring more bills and all of that whole nine.
Right.
And learning how to be a mother. I grew up alongside my son because I was a teenager. I had no clue. I did what I thought was best. And yes, I had the guidance of my parents, and they were very beautiful in that way. This is your baby. We'll help you. We'll support you, but no, you can't kick it. You made this decision. No,
Right.
we're not watching him for you. This is your baby. So I grew up really, really fast at that point because I was the mother. There was no more me. My life didn't matter anymore. It's about this life that I've created. So definitely being in a space where I had to learn how to move past that stigma really quickly. I couldn't wallow in that because now I have a life that I am responsible for, and we have to figure it out together. So for anyone out there that may have experienced shame, maybe not by my story, but shame or overcoming any kind of stigma that someone has placed over your life, just letting you know that you too can do that. You can definitely make it and come out on the other side of shame because you're beautifully and wonderfully craftily made, and there is no shame in God. You're his daughter, you're his son, and so it doesn't matter. There's enough love to cover any offense or anything that you may have done. It's real simple. He's gonna love you regardless. So why not love yourself and not beat yourself up and keep going?
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, because this is the first time that I've heard it spoken, in that way, because we do have to help people get unstuck from that shame, from whatever they may have experienced, and then coming through that as a teenager, then having to raise a child, be strong enough to raise a child. And so I thank you for sharing that story, because I know that it was a tough one to get through, but you overcame it. And just like you said, the important nuggets is people have to understand that there's no condemnation in Christ. Like in God, when he loves us. Like it's not conditional. And even though we do make mistakes and we mess up, but he still loves us. And I think that even young as you were, even back when I was young, I think I felt a little, guilt for attempting to take my life, because he wouldn't let me go then. He really, really told me to get up and go get some help because it wasn't my time. And so, and after that, I felt, kind of funny for wanting to take my own life. But I'm glad that he showed me enough that he cared. And like you said, that he loves us. And there's nothing that we could do that would ever take that love away. So I hope that you all, the listeners, by listening to her story, and that you find a place and space in your life where you can just absorb the love of God, where you can just bask in the love. There's nothing that you could ever do that would make him not love you, because he gave his only begotten son so that we may have life and have it more abundantly. And so that's just an amazing sacrifice, and for us to know that we matter. So LaShena, thank you again. I mean, every story, I'm so honored that for your pour, because I know that the listeners are going to get a wealth of knowledge, encouragement, and they're actually getting, your truth. They're getting your truth. They're getting what you lived through, and you're telling it in a way, a victorious way of being an overcomer and thriver. And so I'm just grateful for, you being here to share with everyone and the listeners out there. I want to move to ask you about any of your upcoming projects, or anything that you have that the listeners can tap into. I want you to share that with the listeners of Inspirational Talks.
Sure, absolutely. So some of my upcoming projects is definitely It's prom season right now, so we definitely have prom season going on, and it's wedding season, so definitely booked for quite a few of those. But I am, yes, so I am always, I love, love, love. It's so beautiful. Just love it, love it, love it. But some of the things that are upcoming that I am working on behind the scenes is being able to launch a design academy to help budding designers or entrepreneurs that definitely are trying to figure out how to start, where to start, what to do, and to be able to assist. Again, here I am thinking of ways to help other people.
Yes.
To be able to have an evergreen platform. So whether it be from the business side, which is what my degrees are in, to be able to let them know, hey, this is where we start with the business plan and all of this, so forth, and how to structure your business. What are the pros and cons of all of those things? And then bringing it all the way up to the design elements of how to do a table setting properly, right? A tablescape. Moving into the colors and how you match and how you can interchange different materials and fabrics, getting into the balloons, centerpieces, flowers, florals, fresh, silk, all of these wonderful things, drapes, right? So being able to build and have that space for them to be able to learn as they are going through that space, not just one element, but the whole design space. So that is something that is an upcoming project, is to have the design academy, that I would love to do that, an evergreen platform that they can just tap into that wealth of knowledge for them. And then also moving into possibly in-person masterclasses, one-on-ones, in-person instruction, so you can have that hands-on. Some people are, very visual, and then some people have to do it and be there with you. Some people have to have thorough instructions, step by step, there with someone to help walk through. So my hope and my prayer is also to be able to do those around the country as well at some point, when God sees fit and ready for me to do in person like that, to be able to have those workshops and master classes to come together to learn those techniques. And then finally, at some point in my life, I need to write my story. Oh my goodness, my story has to be birthed at some point, but I got so much going on, so I don't want to put too much on my plate. But I definitely see myself, he's already revealed it to me, a budding author as well, to be able to share my whole story and to be able to help others as well. As I've learned in my journey, my story will be someone else's playbook or survival guide. And always wanting to make sure that I do my part and live my life truly, truly poured out, unashamed of the things that I have been through. It's part of what made me me. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it is what birthed who I am standing and sitting here to be today. So those are some of those upcoming projects that I got working, those little irons in the fire there.
I think that they are amazing. Your academy is going to be amazing. Just listening to you describe it, all of the little intricate details that they will be getting will help them to be the best that they could be by learning from the best. So thank you for sharing that. And don't let that book lag too far behind. Okay?
I know.
Just take your time and get you a folder, or get you a tablet and just write about, whatever God is downloading to you, so that you'll have it when you get ready to have it. And so thank you again for sharing that with us.
So welcome.
Well, LaShena, this has been an amazing, conversation with you on Inspirational Talks. This is a time of the program where you are to share your final thoughts. If there's anything that, we didn't discuss that you want to, let the listening audience know about, this is your chance and your opportunity to just let us know anything else that we need to know about you.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I definitely want to say thank you so much, Miss LaDonna Marie, for having me. You are such a beautiful, beautiful soul, just a beautiful person. Oh my
Thank
goodness,
you.
I love it. I love it. And thank you so much for the opportunity and for having me to share a little bit of my story, to be a blessing to someone else. You never know who took inspiration or who can even glean from some of the things that I've struggled. I went through it, so you don't have to. Like my grandmother used to say, you're not going to live long enough to experience everything. You're going to have to learn from other people's mistakes as well and add that on to your journey. So definitely love you for the opportunity to share my story. You've been such a blessing. Such a blessing, such a blessing. And may God continue to richly bless you. And for the listeners out there, keep moving. Don't stop. Create your own opportunities. You don't have to wait for someone to give you anything. You can create it. Make your own table and go forth in what He has called you to do. And maybe you might be struggling with something. Maybe it might be fear, shame, or mental health even. I don't know. Whatever it is that you may be experiencing right now, I want to let you know that you too can make it. You too can overcome. You too. Don't be afraid of the things that you're going through. Reach out for help. I know the first thing that you just need to do is say, can somebody help me? And there's so many different organizations and so many people that are willing to help. You just got to let us know that you need help. So please definitely make sure that you reach out and know that you are loved and that this is a safe space for you if you need it. I'm pretty sure that you can reach out to Miss LaDonna. Heck, you can reach out to me if need be. I'll talk with you. I'll sit in the darkness with you if that's what you need, because that's who God created me to be. So definitely just want to let you all know that I love you and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Awesome. And we love you too. I know the listeners of Inspirational Talks, if they could talk, they would say the same. We are truly honored that you are here tonight to share with us, your powerful story of overcoming, becoming a thriver, and just who you are, who God has designed and created you to be in the scope of this world, and where you are, and the giver that you are, and the builder that you are, and the encourager that you are. And so I want to thank you again for being here and sharing this space and this time with us. We wish you the best in everything that you are doing. And we pray that many blessings will come to you. So thank you again.
And
everyone,
thank you.
You're so welcome. So everyone out there, we want to thank you all for listening to Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie. Be back to make sure you come and visit us every Monday at 6:30 Central and 7:30 Eastern. We look forward to having you here. Also, we're on some brand new places. And so if you're on Amazon Music, or if you are on Apple Podcasts, or if you are on iHeartRadio, look up Inspirational Talks and share it with a friend. So we look forward to seeing you all. Peace and blessings, everyone. Have a blessed night. This has been another purpose-packed episode of Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast. Please remember to like, share, and tell your friends about the podcast. Stay tuned for many more Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie.